So I go back through the tapes, and you can go back through 'em with me. You can watch the last video I have. You see the girl behind me. Now the interesting thing, the girl behind me was like barfing the whole trip. She must have like got this story in her head that I was some kind of Jewish jihadi, and she must have like gotten all frantic and gotten the airline stewardess frantic. She was like puking the whole time, you know. Nervousness and stomach problems are always connected. So they call it the Jewish stomach. You know, a lot of Jews have stomach problems. Very nervous people. So you know, that's my little pop theory. One time I looked at her during the trip. I was gonna say like, "Oh, are you okay?" You know, and she gave me kind of like a weird look. I couldn't figure out why she was so like weird. You know. So she gave me a weird look, like, "Oh, wait a second, you look like a nice guy. I must have made a mistake." And at the same time, like, maybe maybe you're a terrorist. I can't tell. You know. So anyhow, so if you can guess what the cause was, you'll never be able to guess it. Okay, so I did my detective work. What would it must have been? It must have been those beans. I like when I was done with the beans. I also had a bunch of raw kale, black beans and raw kale, super healthy. When I was done with the beans, I was about to throw out the container, but it was a nice little container. And I didn't have a place to stay in New York overnight, and I was thinking, oh, I'll land. I'll keep this container in case I need like a bowl in the middle of the night. You know, I'm not the most like a suburban person. I can go to a city and like stay up for a day or something while I'm figuring out what's the most important thing. I'm not like a suburban person where it's all about where you're going to sleep that night. You know, whatever. You got to get the mission done. You know, I'm a soldier. So 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 the detective story is that I had that bean container that I told the story about with the TSA. That bean container, which the explosive story was about, you know, and I was gonna throw it out, and I thought, no, I'll keep it as like a little bowl. It's a cute little bowl. Maybe I'll like need a little bowl somehow, from between, you know, for some reason, which is kind of like far fetched. So why would I need a bowl? You know, everything comes in its own packaging now. So anyhow, but I kept it because back in the day, I was the craziest hippie ever in history. I used to travel. I was so crazy. I was like, there's a period I was really into like how the Buddhists would beg for everything. I really like got off on that idea, and I started to travel around with no money, no possessions, and I'd have one bowl, and I'd like get super hungry. I'd go. This was like when I was in my early 20s, maybe early 20s, between 20 and 25. So I'm 47 now, so back in the day. So I'd have my one bowl, no possessions, no bag. I'd just be very hungry. I'd go into a restaurant. I'd tell them like, I don't have any money and I'm homeless, and can I have some food? And I'd put out my, hold out my bowl. They give me a look like, what in the world? And more times than not, they just put put some food in the bowl. So anyhow, I had that period in my life that I was like a super wanderer, and I was like a deep wanderer. It was a very mystical thing. It was actually a big part of how I became religious. I think I'll talk about this in more depth. When I make these short videos offline, it takes a while to upload them, so I make them very short. I think I'll talk more about, if someone reminds me, I'll talk more about all this in one of my live videos, because those ones just upload automatically,